Okay, let's unpack this. What if the secret to really unlocking peak productivity, vibrant health, and even like a deep sense of peace? What if it wasn't about finding more hours,
Uh-huh.
but about strategically claiming just one specific hour right at the start of the day?
Right. And that maybe the whole thing hinges on something, well, simple, but maybe really challenging, like waking up at 5 a.m.
Exactly. 5 a.m. sharp. That's the really powerful idea we're digging into today.
It is. And this deep dive, just so everyone's clear, it's based squarely on a summary of Robin Sharma's book, The 5 a.m. Club, Own Your Morning, Elevate Your Life. It's pretty well known.
Right. And the summary really emphasizes that this isn't your typical, how-to guide with just bullet points.
Oh, not at all. It's framed as a story, a fable.
Yeah, it follows a burned-out entrepreneur and a struggling artist, and they get mentored by this sort of mysterious billionaire guy, Mr. Riley.
That's him. And the lessons, the core ideas, they're kind of woven into their travels, their adventures together.
Which can definitely make things stick better than just rules, I suppose, embedding them in a story.
Yeah, makes it more memorable, maybe more relatable through the characters' journeys.
Absolutely. So our mission here, what we want to do, is really cut straight to the core ideas in that summary
Uh-huh. Pull out the main philosophy, the actual system it proposes.
and the key principles. We want to understand what this whole 5 a.m. club thing claims it can do and why, according to the source, it might be a big deal for you.
Okay, so at its absolute heart, the whole philosophy rests on one, like, non-negotiable action.
Waking up at 5 a.m.
5 a.m. sharp.
And it's not just when you wake up, right? The summary stresses how you use that time.
Exactly. It's about grabbing that time before everything else starts demanding your attention. You know, the emails, the noise, the day's chaos.
It's like dedicated time just for you, personal growth.
Solely for personal development. That's the idea. The book calls this specific hour, from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., the victory hour.
The victory hour, okay.
And the big claim here is that owning this hour gives you a real edge. It supposedly boosts focus, self-discipline, creativity, even inner peace.
An hour just for you before the day hits. Think about that. How getting ahead like that might feel different, particularly if your life feels really hectic.
That idea of being proactive instead of reactive, yeah, it's appealing.
Definitely. But okay, waking up is one thing. What does the book say you should actually do in this victory hour? The summary lays out a pretty specific structure, doesn't it? The 20-20-20 formula.
It does. Very specific. That hour is sliced into 3 20-minute chunks, each with a clear purpose.
Okay, let's break that down. First 20 minutes, 5:00 to 5:20 a.m. What's happening then?
That first block is called move, and it means, well, intense physical exercise.
Intense, like really going for it.
Yeah, the source summary specifically mentions that sweating is key. So it's not just stretching.
Wow, okay, so getting the heart rate up immediately. Why? What's the claimed benefit?
Well, the idea is to really wake up your body, your physiology. The summary mentioned it supposedly triggers dopamine, serotonin, and something called BDNF.
The BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. I've heard of that.
Right. So the thinking is this physical jolt doesn't just give you energy, it actually sharpens your brain, gets you ready for the day mentally too.
That's interesting. Connecting the physical straight to the mental focus. How might starting your day like that, really energizing body and mind, change the whole tone?
It's a powerful combo to kick things off.
Okay, so 5:00 to 5:20 is move. What's next? 5:20 to 5:40 a.m.
That second block is reflect. So after the intensity, you shift gears, go inward.
Reflect, like meditation, journaling.
Exactly. Could be meditation, writing in a journal, deep breathing, maybe prayer, quieter, introspective stuff.
So you ramp up, then you calm down and center yourself.
That's the rhythm. And the claimed outcomes here are things like cultivating gratitude, finding some peace, getting clarity on your thoughts, setting intentions for the day.
You can kind of picture the characters in the story needing that, right? Especially the stressed entrepreneur. Finding that quiet space.
For sure. And think about it. How might carving out that quiet time help you handle the rest of your day with maybe a bit more calm and purpose?
Yeah, I can see the value. Energy, then stillness.
Okay, what about the last 20 minutes? 5:04 at CEO to 6:00 a.m.
The final segment is grow. This is all about learning, deliberate self-improvement.
Grow. So like reading,
Yeah.
or studying something.
Could be reading books, listening to podcasts, educational ones presumably, or actually working on your craft, studying your field, improving a skill.
Ah, so actively investing in your own development before the official workday even starts.
Exactly. Developing your mindset, gaining knowledge, personal or professional growth. The artist character in the fable probably uses this time to study techniques or masters.
Right. Just imagine what you could learn or what skills you could sharpen with just 20 focused minutes every single morning. That adds up.
It compounds, definitely. So the victory hour is this really structured start. Move, reflect, grow. But the book's ideas go deeper than just that hour and deeper than just mindset, right? It brings in the four interior empires.
It does, yeah. This is where the framework gets more holistic.
Yeah.
Sharma suggests that just focusing on, say, your thinking isn't the whole picture for transformation.
Okay, so what are these four areas, these empires?
Well, first is mindset. That's the familiar one, your psychology, your thought patterns.
Uh-huh.
But then there's heart set. This is about your emotional life. The summary mentions it includes processing past pain, which is interesting.
That heart set, okay. Emotional health.
Then health set. That's your physical well-being, fitness, nutrition, the body stuff.
Got it.
And finally, soul set. This is described as your spiritual side, your sense of purpose, connection, inner peace,
Mind, emotions, body, spirit, all four.
all interconnected. And the big idea tying them together, there's a quote in the summary.
What's that?
You can't master the outer world until you've mastered your inner world.
Ooh, that's powerful. So external success basically depends on getting your inner house in order across all these areas.
That's the core implication.
Hmm.
What does that idea of focusing on mastering these inner areas first suggest about your own goals or journey? It kind of shifts the focus, doesn't it?
It really does. From just doing things to how you're being.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's be real. Adopting a 5 a.m. habit or any big habit isn't easy. Does the book address how to actually make it stick?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The summary details the habit installation protocol.
Protocol. Sounds serious.
Well, it emphasizes that it takes real time. The specific claim is 66 days.
66 days to really wire in a new habit? Okay, that's a concrete time frame.
It gives you something to aim for, and it breaks down what happens during those 66 days
Yeah.
into 3 phases.
Okay, what are the phases?
Phase 1 is destruction. That's roughly the first 22 days. It's described as being hard, like really hard,
Why hard?
because you're actively breaking old patterns, pushing against your comfort zones. It's supposed to feel like a struggle.
Okay, so expect difficulty at the start. Don't quit just because it's tough.
Exactly. Then comes phase 2, installation. That's about days 23 to 44.
Installation. And how's that described?
Messy. Uncomfortable. You're trying to build a new habit, but it doesn't feel natural yet. You might slip up, feel awkward, resist it.
The messy middle. That feels very familiar for trying new things. So it's not smooth sailing after the first phase.
Not according to this model. Then finally, phase 3 is integration, days 45 to 66.
Integration. Does it get easier then?
That's the idea. By this point, if you've stuck with it, the habit starts to feel automatic. It becomes part of your identity, less effortful.
Okay, destruction, installation, integration. 66 days total.
And there's a quote tied to this whole process that sums it up nicely. All change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and beautiful at the end.
Hard, messy, beautiful. That description, thinking about tough habits you might have tried to build, does that resonate? That expectation of difficulty and messiness?
It makes the struggle feel like part of the plan, not a sign you're failing, which is kind of reassuring.
Totally. Okay, so you build the habit. But how do you keep going? High performance isn't just about pushing constantly, right? The book talks about rhythm, the twin cycles of elite performance.
Exactly. This pushes back on that hustle culture idea of just grinding 24/7. The book proposes a necessary balance, a rhythm.
Oh, okay. What are the two cycles in this rhythm?
First is the high excellence cycle. This is when you're doing that deep, focused work, really concentrating on high-impact stuff.
Right, the periods of intense output.
And the crucial counterbalance is the deep recovery cycle. This is just as important. It involves deliberate rest, solitude, play, reflection, actively recovering.
So it's like sprints and recovery periods, basically. Work intensely, then intentionally recharge.
That's a good way to put it. The claim is that honoring this rhythm is key for long-term productivity, and importantly, preventing burnout. It's about sustainability.
That makes a lot of sense. Thinking about your own life, that balance between intense work and real rest, how does that cycle look? Or how might thinking about it this way change how you structure things?
It's definitely something to consider, that recovery isn't laziness, it's part of the performance cycle.
Yeah. And speaking of focus during those high excellence periods, The book talks about creating the right environment, the tight bubble of total focus. What's that about?
It's the idea that top performers, according to the book, are really intentional about creating a space free from distractions, a zone for deep concentration.
A bubble. So what does that mean practically? What's in the bubble or maybe what's kept out?
Mostly what's kept out. The summary mentions specifically no social media, no unnecessary meetings, no multitasking. It's about ruthless single tasking on what matters.
Intense focus on high-value activities. The victory hour itself sounds like the ultimate example of this bubble.
It's the prototype, yeah. Where could you create a tighter bubble in your day? Where could you carve out space for that kind of focus without the constant pings and interruptions?
That idea of deliberate exclusion feels really vital today, and it connects directly to another point, especially relevant for the 5 a.m. start. The value of quiet. Solitude and silence are superpowers.
Yes, the book really elevates the importance of that early morning quiet. It's positioned as a sanctuary from all the noise, digital noise, other people's demands, just the general buzz of life.
A sanctuary. And what does that quiet space allow for, according to the source?
It's seen as crucial for creativity to surface, for genuine reflection without being pulled in different directions, for processing emotions.
Okay.
The summary describes this quiet time, this solitude, as the time of least distraction and highest human potential.
Wow. Highest human potential linked directly to silence and solitude. That's a strong statement. When was the last time you really had some deliberate silence? What did it feel like?
It suggests there's a depth you can access in quiet that's just impossible with constant noise.
Definitely food for thought. To kind of pull these threads together, the summary highlighted some really memorable quotes, didn't it? Little takeaways.
Yeah, they're quite punchy, like mantras. The big one is, own your morning, elevate your life.
Simple, powerful, captures the core promise.
And then emphasizing the start. The way you begin your day determines how you live your day.
Makes sense. Sets the tone.
There's also a warning. An addiction to distraction is the death of your creative production.
Ouch. That one hits home in the modern world, right? A call to focus.
Definitely. And another one about planning. The world belongs to those who prepare for it the night before.
Ah, so the preparation for the 5 a.m. start actually begins the evening prior.
Seems like it. Those quotes really capture the essence. And the story itself, the fable, shows these principles in action.
Right, the entrepreneur finds peace, the artist finds creativity.
And even the billionaire mentor isn't perfect, showing vulnerability, suggesting these aren't just for superheroes, they're human practices for growth.
It makes it feel more achievable seeing the characters go through it.
Yeah, the fable illustrates the transformation, the struggles, and the wins.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. The basic 5 a.m. idea, the 20-20-20 victory hour formula.
Move, reflect, grow.
Then the bigger picture with the 4 interior empires mindset, heart set, health set, soul set.
Right, the whole inner world mastery piece.
The 66-day plan for making habits stick with those phases, destruction, installation, integration.
The hard, messy, and beautiful journey.
The twin cycles for performance and avoiding burnout.
High excellence and deep recovery. That rhythm.
Creating that tight bubble of focus and valuing silence and solitude. It's a pretty complete system offered in the summary.
It really is. It presents a detailed roadmap not just for mornings, but for a whole approach to personal growth.
Yeah. So thinking about all this, especially that emphasis on mastering the inner world, the 4 empires, and that quote about change being hard at first, messy in the middle, and beautiful at the end, here's a final thought just based on these ideas. How might the actual process of trying to implement this 5 a.m. routine, navigating the difficulty, the messiness, sticking with it through the 66 days, how might that process itself actually teach you more about your own inner world, your own mindset, heart set, health set, soul set, than just whether or not you successfully stick to the 5 a.m. wake up time in the end? What might the struggle reveal?